The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The massive fire that tore through the Manila Central Post Office has been declared out at 6:33 a.m. today. The BFP said at least 15 people were injured, including some of its personnel, but no casualties were reported. The fire started at around midnight on Sunday, May 21st. As for the operation of PhilPost, employees will now be transferred to their temporary office in Delpan, Manila. Postmaster General Luis Carlos told the Big Story last night that they are awaiting for the final report of the BFP on the blaze.
They're still conducting that investigation. It's hard to, speculate. I'm just going to be waiting for the Bureau of Fire Protection to make the final report. We'll see maybe in the next 2 days.
Carlos also revealed that there were plans to convert the Manila Central Post Office into a hotel some 10 years ago.
It will all depend on what the National Historical, because there's a Republic Act on these heritage sites. No? These are not rumors. These are 10 years ago that happened. So we'll see from there if that's structural and what the government would like to do with it.
Manila City Mayor Honey Lacuna has assured the public that no new infrastructure can be built in place of the historic Manila Central Post Office after it was gutted by fire. Speaking to 1PHS sa Totoo Lang, Lacuna explained that the Central Post Office was built in an institutional zone based on the city's zoning ordinance. With this, Lacuna says the post office will be restored and that no other structure is allowed to take over the site.
Actually, yung kinatatayuan po ng Manila Central Post Office ay isang institutional zone. Ibig sabihin po, ang pwede lang po doon ay mga opisina, mga historical structures, ang pwede lang po doon matayo. Wala pong maaaring pwedeng ipatayo doon na o hindi po natin pwedeng sirain kung ano po yung nakatayo na doon.
In the same program, Lacuna also said that the 8-hour-long massive fire incurred damage worth an initial estimate of 300 million pesos. Lacuna noted that the post office has no installed water sprinklers as it is an old structure. Still, the Manila mayor said she has instructed the Manila Fire District to inspect other old buildings in the city to make sure that such fire incidents will be prevented in the future.
Nagbigay po ng instructions sa Manila Fire District na pagtingin po ang kanilang paglilibot at pag-inspect ng lahat ng mga buildings dito sa lungsod ng Manila, lalong-lalo po yung mga old buildings.
The lower house has passed various bills on third and final reading, including some of President Marcos's priority measures. One priority measure passed by the House is the National Land Use Act, which seeks to institutionalize a national land use policy. Lawmakers say this long-awaited measure is important as it will provide the tool to properly identify land use and allocation patterns in all parts of the country. Another measure approved by the lower house is the consolidated bill providing for a 30-year national infrastructure program covering the years 2023 to 2052. This proposal aims to put in place a long-term system of funding and sustaining public infrastructure projects and would also institutionalize the Marcos administration's Build Better More program. Lawmakers from the lower chamber likewise approved a bill declaring August 1 as a special working holiday to commemorate the Declaration of Philippine Independence. The proposed special working holiday seeks to remember the official declaration of Philippine independence in Bacoor, Cavite in 1898, which is described as an important piece of Philippine history. Meanwhile, a measure mandating the increase of disability pensions for military veterans and their dependents has also hurdled the House of Representatives. The proposal seeks to amend current laws on benefits of veterans and their dependents to address insufficiencies and, quote, respond to the demands of the times. The Chamber also approved a bill that will establish a voucher program for poor and academically qualified students in private higher educational institutions and technical vocational institutions. This measure revises some provisions of the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act to better help poor but deserving students finish higher education. Another bill approved by the lower house is one that aims to strengthen the powers and functions of the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. This measure also seeks to amend the Intellectual Property Code to adapt to recent advancements in technology and further address piracy and counterfeiting. Lawmakers also approved a bill defining electronic or online violence against women and their children. This proposed law aims to address rising cases of internet-enabled violence and abuse against women and children. And finally, the House passed a measure that seeks to institutionalize the One Town, One Product program. This is the government stimulus package for the promotion and development of micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, in the countryside. This will be done through the use of indigenous raw materials and utilization of local skills and talents. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Education Department plans to reduce subjects for students in the primary level. This as the agency says that the Philippine curriculum from kindergarten to the 3rd grade is packed with too many subjects. DepEd says cutting some subjects would help students focus on foundation skills such as reading and math in their first few years of learning. One subject up for consideration is the mother tongue, which the agency says can be incorporated into teaching itself.
For example, ang ating sinasabi is masyadong crowded yung ating curriculum, and then hindi natututukan yung mga basic yung foundation skills ng
Which
ating
are?
mga bata. Which are reading, numeracy, mathematics.
Yung
That
mga
is why in the
STEM,
revised curriculum, we are actually reducing the number of subjects for the kinder to grade 3. For one is the mother tongue.
Yes.
We are now shifting to the use of the mother tongue as a medium of instruction and no longer a
English.
separate subject.
Pasig Representative Roman Romulo, who sits as chairman of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture, also insists giving students fewer subjects. Aside from better building proficiencies and focusing on the essential tools of learning, the lawmaker also believes it will rid students of unnecessary learning fatigue.
The Philippines has the most number of hours required of any student of all that took that PISA exam. And tayo pa rin yung mababa. Ibig sabihin, hindi kailangan na babarin natin ang bata sa paaralan. So tama ngayon yung from 7, binabaan nila to 5, it's going to be focused on reading comprehension and mathematics, and GMRC is very important. And then magi-increase lang sila, may science silang ma-add eventually.
Great.
Plunder convict Janet Lim Napoles has been acquitted by the Sandigan Bayan in 16 counts of graft relating to the pork barrel scam, which also involved Senator Bong Revilla, who was likewise acquitted of the charges back in 2021. Napoles, however, was also found guilty in 2 graft and 2 malversation cases. In a decision released and dated May 22, the Anti-Graft Court's First Division finds Napoles not guilty of 16 counts of violation of the anti-graft law. The court ruled that the graft charges were already predicate in the charge where she was previously convicted of plunder in 2018. This means that the acts imputed to Revilla, Napoles, and others in the plunder case and this particular graft case are essentially the same. The court basically refused to punish Napoles twice for the same act. But as mentioned, there is a separate ruling also released on Thursday, this one from the Sandigan Bayan 2nd Division. Napoles was found guilty of 2 counts of graft and 2 counts of malversation of public funds in the misuse of the PDAF fund or late Davao del Sur Representative Douglas Cagas. Napoles was sentenced to 6 to 10 years imprisonment for each count of graft and 12 to 17 years imprisonment for each count of malversation. This ruling is for a separate case in 2007 where Cagas endorsed a non-government organization controlled by Napoles as project partner, giving them 7.6 million pesos without undergoing public bidding. Despite the developments, Napoles will remain in detention at the Women's Correctional. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.